took entrance exams, failed, tried next year and again failed, worked from sunrise to sunset in the office without air conditioning, and with a workload that was for 4 or 5 people, but he did it alone and still got scolded by the boss, who accused him of being slow and negligent, still had to put up with the only professional colleague who said he was a dreamer who talked too much, and that he would never go anywhere in life. It was difficult. An inner voice said he was a failure, who would not make it. His colleague, bosses, brothers and parents were right. It was even a 0 left. After crying regret and almost believing in the mysterious voice that came from inside his mind, he looked at the sky and remembered that there is one in heaven who watches over us. It is true that he had never had much contact with him, but he remembered the biblical stories that his grandmother told him as a child. Suddenly a force welled up within him and he expelled any negative thoughts. He seemed to have eaten Popeye's spinach. Now he was strong and determined to win. But little did he know that this was just the beginning of victory, and whoever said that life is easy, who said that working hard, studying hard, guarantees a bright future? Rubinho, that was his nickname in the place where he lived. He had never gone to see his sibling parents, and Jeff his best friend since school days. In his mind he would only go after being successful, something that hadn't happened yet. He feared the mocking his relatives, but after passing the entrance exam to enter university, he took a deep breath and took the bus and headed towards his old home. What he would find there, he didn't know. He went down on the asphalt track and had to walk for 4 kilometers, and so it was getting closer to midday. He was on vacation from the office, and the first to see him, almost without believing it, was his father, who ran when he met him. He kissed and wept. He made the revelation that he feared so much. Away from those lands for more than 6 years, he didn't even know that his mother had died. His father told him that it was from a terrible cancer that she had said goodbye, saying that if one day they saw him, they would say that she loved him very much, and every day she would look out the window waiting for his return. The father didn't accuse him of anything. He was just surprised that the son had not come to stay, only to spend a few days. His room was as he had left it, even a little dusty. The brothers, as soon as they learned of his presence, were slow to go and see it. The first was her sister, her brother-in-law, and the twins, her nephews, with a certain strange air, seemed to be talking to the new acquaintance. The next ones arrived together. They were the older brothers without their wives and children. One of them asked where was the big car and the wife he said he would bring when he went to visit them. At first he was embarrassed, but then he smiled and said, "I don't have it yet, but it's on the way." After a few days, feeling that that was no longer his life, he said goodbye to everyone and returned to his city. Returning to work and studies, he was studying economics and could already change some habits that were harmful to his health, financial, making it more responsible with his earnings. Graduation day finally arrived. In this environment he met his wife, who was master of ceremony, making the whole party go as desired. Received his diploma. Many greetings. His father, brothers, and nephews were there. He boasted to himself that he had been the only one in the family to graduate and graduate. The years went by. His father retired, already old, with many illnesses that barely allowed him to walk. His older brother died of kidney failure. He lost also 2 nephews, who were not brothers to each other. And so life changed if he still didn't have the dream car. His wife had a serious stomach problem, which would take her away from her activities. They had been unemployed for more than a year. The office fired him, and when he thought he would work as an economist, he saw his desire go down the drain. The clock doesn't stop. He worked as an insurance broker, took a commission, and when he thought he would have enough money to live better, it seemed to run through his fingers and kept waiting again for the next month. Who knows, I will have more customers and do better business. One day, he was only at home with his 13-year-old son. He began to remember his childhood and youth. It seemed terrible, but it had its charms. Bathing in the waterfall, exploring the native forest, talking with the brothers and friends at the Beira de Mangueira until the wee hours, he suddenly sees that the life he lived, it was not exactly the one he dreamed of. In his heart, he always despised his parents, siblings and friends, for the routine and predictable life they lived. But wasn't the life he lived the cycle he feared would be his future if he continued on the farm? Coming to his senses, he said, "I'm going to take a few days, and I'm going to visit my brothers and father. I have something to do." He got there. The father was very sick. He spoke with difficulty. He gave some moans of pain, but Rubens hugged him and cried for a long time, minutes, and asked him for an extensive pardon, acknowledging their selfishness and cruelty, which deep down thought he was better than them and despised them so much that even involuntarily, he wished evil so that his prediction about them would be fulfilled. Afterwards, visiting each brother and nephews, also asking for forgiveness for the judgments and words of affront he will utter against his family. The nephew said that they grew angry with their uncle for what they saw their father speak of him. Between cries and pardons, he can return to his house, totally relieved, feeling free and light. That morning the sun seemed to shine more, the birds sang more in tune, the butterflies did a more aerial dance enchanting. That day it closed new one's business, more profitable. He arrived home happy, looked at his wife and son and thought how good God is. I am happy I am already rich, but I have not recognized this. It seems that I have always lived at the mercy of feelings of need and subtraction. I never valued what I was really worth. During the break of the other day, he opens the notebook and sees that one of the actions he had least expected had gone off, and he was well healed. That afternoon, his wife calls and says that the company he had left a resume for was calling, so he could work as an economist for and give lectures earning money. It was so much good news, so much joy. The faces of his beloved son and wife were shining, as they knew that their father's dream could now be fulfilled. So after a few days, he took them to the new car store. Between one car and another, the seller did his best to convince him to make a good purchase, but his wife sees that he has a different look, and it's really valuable. He already has it, and he leaves the store happy, and accompanied by the smiles of his wife and son. He climbs into his usual car and says, "Let's go out to dinner, honey, we can. We don't need to have everything they offer to be happy. Just look around us. Happiness is in the simplicity and peace that God puts in our heart."